All right, we are now on our last video, and we're on Mongols, trade and expansion. Mongols, so badass. I love these Mongols. All right, so we're going to start off with Genghis Khan, who comes to take over the largest land empire in history. Genghis Khan is the leader of the Mongols, and he's able to do something pretty amazing. He's able to unite the group of Mongols who are nomadic pastoral people from the steppe. He's able to unite them together, and he's a brilliant military genius. He's able to form a military of mobile people who can shoot arrows off their horses, moving at full speed. He's able to expand trade networks. He's able to connect the Mongols to the Silk Road trade route and lead to the largest land empire ever taken over, and he's also the only person ever to defeat China. So all in all, this guy is an incredible badass who takes over a huge amount of land. This is Genghis Khan. He's amazingly significant because he extends the Silk Road, makes trade go even further throughout cities. He's also known for taking out cities if they don't surrender to him. Basically, the Mongols, they'll let you become part of their army, and you can become a Mongol if you want to, but if you don't surrender to them, they'll kill everybody. They also build these, they take all the talented people who are living in the cities, they take over, they bring them together, regardless of religion, culture, and they make a huge empire. And if you see this, it takes over most of Eurasia, which is quite an accomplishment with their absolutely amazing, kick-ass military. So that's Genghis Khan, and let's move on to our next word. Hey, everybody, we have a special guest today.
Good morning, everyone.
Do you want to introduce our next word?
Yeah, it's Pax Mongolica.
All right, so we'll get to the definition. See you guys.
See you in class.
All right, Pax Mongolica. Pax Mongolica is basically the Mongol peace, and what it pretty much means is that the Mongols were able to establish a peaceful trade route on the Silk Road and develop trade, also culture, and religion through this trade route. The Mongols realized the Silk Road was pretty valuable to them, becoming rich and everything. So what they did was they realized if they protected these routes and let traders go back and forth, they could make good money off it. So the Mongols were willing to make sure these trade routes would stay safe, that people could go back and forth. And they were able to rule this for about 100 years, where we saw really good trade going on all over Eurasia, back and forth, and this allowed the dispersion of a lot of technology and goods all over Eurasia during the post-classical era. Very significant for those reasons. Kapha was a city that the Mongols encouraged to be built, and they encouraged to be built to increase sea trade that would connect to them and other people in the Silk Road trade network in the post-classical era. It's also rumored that at a battle in Kapha, that the Mongols were fighting and they could no longer win the battle, and that some of their people were sick with the bubonic plague. So they took them, put them in catapults, and catapulted the dead people over the city, so the people of the city would become infected. And some people say this is how the Black Plague ended up spreading to Europe. Although it's disputed, because the first time these reports were ever written down, it was 100 years after the fact. So it could have been that the Europeans just, didn't like the Mongols, and they were spreading, pretty bad rumors about how they were responsible for the Black Plague. But Kapha, most importantly, is known as a major trading port city in the post-classical era, connecting parts of the Byzantine Empire at that time, the Abbasid Caliphate, and Europe to the Silk Road. The Mongols also eventually take over and push out the Chinese further and further southeast, and they push them southeast into this area, which are the countries that we have now of Cambodia, Vietnam, and the Malay Peninsula and Java in this region. Basically, the Mongols push the Chinese further south, and these Chinese diaspora communities connect Mongol trade to parts of the Indian Ocean trade route, which pushes China further down here. There are still many ethnically Chinese people who live in this area today, and it also connects them to the Indian Ocean trade route, which is good for Mongolia, the Mongols, and also expands more trade, further connecting our trade routes of the post-classical era. All right, so the Mongol trade routes, very important, And remember, a lot of this trade couldn't happen if it wasn't for camel saddles. Those camel saddles carrying 500 to 1,000 pounds. Pretty important. Pretty damn important, those camel saddles for trade, caravans. Those camel saddles. All right, enough about the camel saddles. Let's talk about Dar al-Islam. Dar al-Islam is basically a huge network of Islamic trade and law that occurs. While it's not formally all a government, it's overrun by different governments, Dar al-Salam gives a legal system and protections to merchants. What really makes the Islamic caliphates in Dar al-Salam special is they are promoting trade, much like the Mongols. And their religion sees no problem with trade. In fact, Muhammad, who began Islam, and again we'll talk about him a little bit, he promoted trade because he was a merchant. So Dar al-Salam protects people. It allows things like banks and credit to be established and expands trade in the post-classical era, and even expands ideas like credit and checks that we have today and are, quite frankly, kind of nice to have, although credit can be kind of bad too, but are kind of nice to have. So that is the trans-Saharan trade. I'm going to just keep going here. Dar al-Salam establishes laws, and these laws even go into the trans-Saharan trade network. And again, trans-Saharan trade network, we wrote this one down already, but just add this right now, that the trans-Saharan trade network becomes part of Dar al-Islam. The trans-Saharan trade network becomes part of Dar al-Islam. That basically West Africa becomes part of the Muslim world. Okay? And salt becomes very important in that trade network. Wow, let's move ahead here. Oh, and by the way, also, the trans-Saharan trade network was very important and was able to happen because of camel saddles. Camel saddles, really important. You carry 500 to 1,000 pounds. Expanded trade, culture. Allowed Dar al-Islam to happen. Camel saddles helped it, just like they did in the Silk Road. Camel saddles, pretty important. Now, you wouldn't think this, but Muslim travelers even travel up to Russia. So they're able to go here from the Islamic Caliphate into Russia, and they're even able to get furs from Scandinavia, which furs from Scandinavia become part of the Hanseatic League trade, but also become part of the Dar al-Islam trade because they're able to trade these furs in this Islamic part of the world right down here. So we really see the world is becoming interconnected at this time because of the caravans that are happening, the boats in the Islamic trade, culture is diffusion, religion is spreading, Mongols are spreading. It is post-classical era, my personal favorite era. All right, that's all for our vocab. You can right now say something very mean to Mr. Wood as you finish. Go ahead, I can take it. Let some cuss words out, come on. That's all you got? Come on. All right, see you guys in class next week.